So in this part, we'll start populating the fore deck and the aft deck with many parts that we'd prepared in a previous video, as well as some new parts that we will work on in this part. And there's a surprising amount. So we have some plates and shackles. We've got the 3 hose pipe covers, got the resin capstans, the chain guides, as well as the kit mooring chocks, and also a couple of resin ones as well. On top of that, we'll do the jack staff at the bow and the ensign staff at the stern. Fold up of these, going by the plans and instructions from Pontos, so it was very confusing, so that's going to be interesting. We also have some wood parts that we need to install as well. And we'll go through the treatment that we'll do to these, similar to the other wood decks we've done. We'll make a start on the 2 resin capstans. They're not too bad. Obviously they're a cast resin, not 3D printed resin. The first thing we'll do is, before we separate them from the casting block, is we just need to remove the flash here. Now we'll have to be careful because, I'm not sure you can see, there is 2 little parts, flanges or something, that need to be left. So we don't want to remove that detail. We can just come in with a sharp blade, just slice down. And then that's almost it. So like I say, there is supposed to be raised areas. They probably don't need any more cleanup other than just taking that flash off. There's a groove in the center, I think. It's actually quite hard working on white plastic to see. So with the flashing cleaned off, we can now remove it from its base. Now, depending on the method of attachment to the casting block, if it's quite light, we can actually just come in and start snipping away. We've also got quite a bit to remove from the underside, so we could start paring it off. Just work our way down, being careful not to cut ourselves. Let's take our time. Okay, so I can just keep working away at that, taking off little slices. We don't want to go in too deep because that's when you start pushing with a lot of force, and if it slips you're going to cut yourself. So the other method is to use, and this would work better for more solid blocks, is to use like a razor saw. Just being careful we don't damage the edges, of course. Now this one I've got is actually broken, but it should be okay. There we go. So it's a lot cleaner. So what we can do, it's still a bit raised in the middle. Start scraping. Now, it won't matter if we go a bit hollow in the centre, but as long as we don't reduce the outside edge. So just keep up from the outside edge, so it's got a nice tight fit to the deck. A wee bit of a shadow under this edge here, so it's still not 100% flat. What we can do is we could just give it a sand as well. And I've just dipped it in some water, just to keep the dust down. And that's a lot better. It's sitting pretty good now. So that's most of the resin parts cleaned up, ready for painting. Parts 7 and 8 need to be glued together, and super glue gets such a good strong bond, it's almost hard to pull it apart without damaging them. R4, there's still full wedge to go in there, so they are not quite ready for painting, and the resin mooring chocks. But I want to talk about resin safety. So you've probably heard that resin's carcinogenic. And we're talking casting resin at the moment, not 3D printing resin. And I've heard some say it's only dangerous in its liquid form, some when it's cured. But certainly when I was cutting and scraping, I could smell. It was quite a sweet perfume type smell. And that's why I used water when I came to sand for the fine sanding dust. But just be aware of your own safety and taking necessary precautions that you think. Also, I gave all the parts a wash in warm soapy water just to remove any release agent that might be on the surface. It will stop the paint sticking. So let's make a start on the hose pipe covers. Now we have 3 of them and they're all slightly different shapes, so I'm just going to work on one at a time so I don't get the parts mixed up. And we'll give them a trial fit as well, just make sure I get the orientation correct. Okay, so that's how that built up. I think I'll do the first 3 parts together and then put the grill on last. Looks like they all need to be, apart from this top one. These 2 are all lined up perfectly all the way around. And then this one sits inside the bolt detail. So I'm going to go ahead and solder these. Okay. Okay, so that seems to have worked. So we'll just put the cover on now. And what I'm going to do is I'm only going to apply solder to the hinge and the lock and the clasp. Actually, I might even just do the 2 hinges, see if that's enough. I'll put one on here as well. Don't know how much of that you saw, but I'm pretty happy with that. There's no solder overflow or anything. Okay, so that's the 3 hosepipe covers done. I'm very happy how they turned out, and had 0 cleanup to do. Okay, so let's have a look at the fitment to the hosepipe grills. Now, Jim, one of my viewers, highlighted that there may be an issue with the Pontos deck placements with regards to the hole, and to hold off fitting anything until you check it. So we'll do that now, because I wish I'd thought before and planned ahead. I would have removed these before they were glued down, because it's going to be a pest now. Okay, so I think the problem is underneath that bit of deck we need to remove, so let's do that now. So to remove that, I'm just going to cut the laser line with a bit of razor blade, because it's very thin and very sharp, so we should be able to keep it following the line. Okay, so what I'll do is, just for ease and access, helps if you turn it around the right way. Just for ease and access, I'll do this off camera, and then we can come back once I've trimmed them and removed them, okay? But that's the idea anyway. We just trim that laser line. Okay, so you can see what Jim was talking about. There's a considerable amount of plastic left. I've actually marked it with black pen to see how much to take off. I will leave a bit of a border, just to give the grills something to sit on so they don't drop right through. But now the question is how to remove that, because this is about 3 mil thick. So the options I'm thinking of is we could spend hours filing away, which would be the safest method, and I might try that initially. Or we can use the bar in our rotary tool, at least to take some of the bulk away. Of course, the risk is we just totally clean up the deck with the plastic around about. If it slips or grabs or flicks out. However, I think I'm heading more towards this just for speed. And we don't need to go vertically straight all the way down. We can go in at an angle and then just paint that black, because once the grill's on, remember, you're just looking through a very fine mesh, so as long as it's black, it's just going to merge into the background. So that's one done, and I did actually end up using the bar. I'm not going to be able to show you doing it because maybe I can't. I had to watch the cable. It doesn't catch on anything down that end. It's very easy from this. I actually spin it around, so but that's how I go. Because I need 2 hands on it to make sure it's. And I'm on the slowest speed here. Let's watch my hands for. Just a wee bit more at this end, and then I'll just do the rest of the file, because the other way is better, but I can't see the deck on this side. I'll just remove that big thick edge there. We'll do this one as well so I can get better access. Okay, so that's me more or less finished that now. I did go around with the blade and just tidied up the edge. It's going to be pretty messy below decks, but that's okay. So hopefully these will all just fit in, because I'm going to drop them through now. Maybe slight trimming of the wood to get them to fit, but maybe not. So what I'll do is I'll just paint inside black, because I don't know, you can't see a fair bit of grey still showing through, but that's okay. Okay, so moving on. We'll move on to another capstan next. We've got a brass base plate, a resin capstan that I've already cleaned up, and another brass attachment to it. So let's glue the capstan onto the base. The resin just grabs instantly. It's incredible. So this part slips over the top and these fold up onto there, but we need to put a bit of a bend into these legs here, so we'll do that now. We need to turn it upside down. And I don't think it needs a great bend. I think this foam's a bit soft. Let's try something else. I think I'll anneal this, just because it's kinking rather than bending, so let's give that a go. Oh, that's better. So we'll just bend this part here to like 90 degrees-ish, close to. And then we'll bend the whole thing up. Okay, so that's distorting that ring a wee bit. Okay, that's better. Okay, so that fits over there. Not very well because I've bent that bottom ring. Okay, so I'm not happy how that bottom ring's came. It's a bit distorted in it. So we'll change of plan. What I'll do is, as you can see, I've marked where these meet. And I'm actually going to get rid of that bottom ring altogether. So we can just wiggle them off. And then we'll just fit them one by one. So you probably can't see because of the whiteness of the board, but there is actually a lip there, and that would have been where the ring was supposed to fit. So I'll just glue straight to that edge there. So we just need to keep adjusting that bend. I'll try and glue that now. Okay, so it's just CA glue. So I'll just keep working around like that. Okay, it's done anyway. It's not the best, but it is what it is. It'll probably look pretty crap once the paint's on. You can actually see it's quite hard with shiny brass and resin that everything disappears into. Yeah. Oh well. Moving on. So we'll prepare the additional wooden parts now. So as you may remember from previous parts, we can't rely on the Pontos adhesive to do its job, so we use an alternative gluing method. And then to do that, what we need to do is neutralize the Pontos adhesive. Now I really want the parts to stay in the main sheet and not come away like that was. So I may have no choice. It'll just be easier to manage if it stays on the sheet. We just have to keep them together, that's all, because obviously they fit together. Okay, so I'll get the rest of them off. Okay, some stuck to the backing and some stuck. Yeah, it was a bit more successful with that one. So to neutralise the Pontos adhesive, we'll give it a coat of flat clear. These dry so quick, actually handle it already. So that's them ready to go. Some of this is still tacky, but the parts themselves, are the little bits up here, they're good to go as well. Let's do the Ensign and jack staffs next. So as expected, I had a bit of problems with folding this up, and it's actually turned out pretty messy with solder trying to fix it. And the issue is following the instructions, this part here, and the angles they tell you to bend them on is not correct. And then in the event of trying to put it back, it snapped off, so hence I had to mess about with it a bit. But now this one should go together fairly easy. So let's start on that. So I'm not going to show you building both fully because a lot of the parts are the same, with really some slight differences. On this, like I'm holding it the way the plans are, so I don't get confused. First thing to do is bend this thing all the way around. Close it up. I'm going to solder this as well, because I want it to be tight, because on this little peg here, one of the masts folds onto it, slips onto it. Okay, so the instructions would have you bend this leg here next, but I'm not going to. I'm going to do the two sides first. And then we'll bend up the part we just soldered. Okay. Now I'll solder that section. Okay, so that's it. Now we have this other post. It fits down through there and out the hole in the bottom. And this is where the instructions, for me anyway, was confusing because I was assuming this was like a closed box, but it's not. Hopefully you can see there's two bend lines. And they tell you to bend it like 180 degrees and then back to 90, but it's not. This one will go that way, and then the other one goes down inside. But it doesn't go flat to the bottom, which you'd think it would to form the box. And I'm not going to solder it because it still needs to have space at the bottom for this post to go through and come out the other end. Okay, so I'm going to leave this part now, and we'll have a look at the differences or the bases. So the Ensign staff has this plate here, and that fits on the top. And then the jack staff is a similar arrangement where we've got that sits on there, that sits on there, and then we fold up this part and that fits onto there. So I'll just build this one up because that one is just the same as doing that one. So we'll place this on here first for soldering, and we'll do this part at the same time. What we do first is just bend these out of the way. A very small connection point's actually broken, but that's okay. We should hold it enough to get soldered on. Let's see if we can solder it, gripping it with the tweezers. Sometimes it acts as a heat sink. And it worked. Now we can bend the feet 90 degrees. And that fits perfectly into the recessed photo edge part. So I'll just hold it down. Okay, so that's that jack staff part done now. And the last part to be soldered is this brace, or not sure what you call it. So let's look at the assembly now. So we've got the side stuff that needs to come out. I just want to make sure I get it. So I've got 484. So we need to feed these onto here in that order. That goes into there. And then that fits into top like that. That spike's not got a very good hold. I might file it down so this slips all the way in. It just doesn't have, it's just sitting on a very rounded edge there. So let's do that now. There we go, that's a lot better. You can see how much we've got now. Before it was just sitting on that very curved bit, now we've got it all the way in. So it's not clear from instructions or the parts. I think this one goes all the way up to that ridge there. I think this is maybe just split between the difference. And then this part goes through there. I might solder this on actually. Yeah, I'm going to solder this on here. Okay, so what I've done is I've put on the 3 parts, but I got the top one wrong. The very top one is number 482, and I've taped them up here just to keep them out of the way because I'm going to solder this onto the bottom, and the same for the jack staff on here as well. So it's just in case if I solder this additional post onto that, I won't get these fed in, so I'll do it now. So we'll prepare these. Okay, so now we'll put the, I don't know what's called, this additional stuff in here. Feed it through the hole. And put it into a hole in the wood. I'm not sure, I'm trying to keep this lined up. Okay, that's better. Yeah, and that stuff did oh no, it's free. Just think it might have been better if it did solder. Let's try this one now. Gee, these are a pain. Not sure where to go now because this top one needs to be free floating for the time being. This bottom one doesn't really get used. And then we've got the main one. I think this one actually, there is a rib there, so I think that's for the position of that one. And so for this big Ensign one, it actually leans back, and that's achieved by the position of that. That's why I really don't want to fix this at the moment. The front one, the jack staff, we could actually secure that one because that actually sits vertical. Until we've got all these other ones in the way again. Yeah, because also remember we've got the two braces that fit in here and go backwards. So let's have a look at the position on the deck now. Okay, so we'll go to the bottom first. Okay, so bonus instructions aren't 100% clear. Now, first thing I'm going to do is cut the end off of this. If it goes right to the very front, which I think it does, we're going to have to trim this lip down so it sits flat. We could pull it back a wee bit. So I'm not sure if you can see. Because the base plate is angled, which I'm guessing is the same angle as the front, we could save a bit of work by pulling it backwards and getting that angle done in line with the edges. And then it will just sit on that lip. And I think that's what I'm going to do because I really don't want to start cutting and trimming. Oh no, that's a fair bit back. It would actually sit back here. And to be honest, I'm still inclined to do that. So in its position here, that bevel on both sides is lining up with that angle on that lip. So it's a bit of a cheat, but that's kind of what I'm inclined to do. You move it right to the front, angled base plate sticks past. So I'm going to take it right to that line, and then this rear bit we can just bend down. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So instead I'm going to do the same again and trim that. To get that angles, I really do need to, I could come back this way. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold it onto the deck and hold the angle base plate up to the inside of the lip. It's not going to be 100% right at the stern, but that's what I'm going to do. Again, probably not, well, it isn't correct, but okay, it's decided then. I'll get these up into paint. Now I jumped ahead and installed the staffs to the supports. I did it off camera because it was so frustrating. So the jack staff at the bow runs parallel with the main support. So this one was very problematic because the actual staff was sitting like this. So I filed the peg at the bottom right down, and that allowed the bottom to move in a bit, but it was still too much of an angle. So on the hole that goes through this plate, I opened it up with a 1mm, I think it was a 1mm drill bit, to allow the top to go out a bit. The base came in, the top went out. And then all I did was, once I was happy, gripped the two together and soldered the base and where it connects to the staff. It's a lot better now, so it's hopefully parallel. See? The Ensign staff at the back is very similar, but that one actually has to lean backwards or outwards over the stern. Now the way to attain that is this plate here. If it was like parallel at the front, it would be sitting like that. So you just rotate that plate to get the desired angle. Now, preferably, I think it should lean a bit more out. But so it was the same deal. I just soldered the peg here in the connecting points. So I'll try to fit them up to the deck and see about these braces. The plates here are just held in place with crystal clear. So let's have a look at the braces next. I've seen some being on the outside here. I've also seen them on the deck. Now I'm going to do them on the deck because I don't want to interfere with the hand drills. We can just get the tops through that holes. It's almost in position there. So what I'm going to do is just put some crystal clear on the top there, just to try and hold it temporarily in place until we can get it better secured. So I'll go ahead and do the same for the rear. And we've got this Stern Ensign stuff kind of just setting up now. It's going to be quite messy at the top here. Just trying to get enough crystal clear on to grip the braces. So we'll get these painted up, and when it does come time to install them, hopefully we've got enough play within the flexible crystal clear to just fine tweak the position. Okay, so we're ready to now finally start populating the fore and aft decks with all the additional components. And here's a photo of all the parts that we'll be using. And on top of that, there's actually some additional wood sections to go in as well. And that's where we're going to start going forward from here. I'm not going to show every single one because it'll get a bit repetitive, because for the likes of this area here, it's replicated in the other three corners of the superstructures. But we will point out that these parts here are slightly different. And this one has got a wee bit of extra material, whereas this one's like a sharp corner, and that's why they've came free. This is for the aft deck. So just be mindful that they are slightly different. So we'll start here using these ones. And to install the wood parts, we're going to use the acrylic medium, as we did for some of the decks and some of the repairs we did, because it just doesn't, the Pontos adhesive's just not reliable enough. Just before you start, make sure you've got plenty of clean water. So we're just going to apply, I don't want to overdo it, because the more we apply, the more we have to clean up. We just use a damp brush to clean up any excess. We can use a brush to push it into place as well. And while we're here, we'll install one of these skulls, just using crystal clear. And then we've got a bollard that sits on there as well. Now unfortunately, I keep forgetting to plan ahead, and we're supposed to drill out a 1.5mm hole for the bollards to locate into. What I'll do is I'll just cut them back. Hopefully not damaging these, because these are quite thick. And we'll just clean off any excess. Again, a damp brush. And while we're here, we'll install one of the mooring chocks. Now, I have to trim the deck a wee bit. I'll just show this one because it's nice and quick, but on some of the ones closer to the front, the Pontos deck interferes with the fittings. We might have additional work to do there. So just using my homemade chisel, I'm just cutting down into the deck. And because it's plastic to plastic, I'm just going to use some Rebel contactor. Trying to keep out from the edges because we don't want it to squeeze out, because obviously we can't clean that up with water. And then we have this wooden deck piece. It goes around that. And I'm just going to use crystal clear because it's so small. We also have a couple of scuppers here. I'll replicate this in the other three. So moving forward a bit, we'll have a look here. So we've got these kit parts with the Pontos wheels. Now, these are handed, so in this case we need J41. And then moving forward again, we'll concentrate on the hose pipes. And we'll use crystal clear. Now I'm going to put a bead along the edge of the wood. And on the plastic it's going to sit on. It's very easily chipped to paint. So for the chain guides or chain plates, I'm going to try and use the gel medium again, because I'm hoping it gets a good grip onto the wood. So we'll see how we go with that. Okay, I think that was relatively successful, so we'll continue with it. I think a bit more care in the application maybe, like these big blobs at the edges. But shaky hands again. Not too worried about this section here because things go on top of it. Okay, again, there's a little bit of marks on the grill because it's like textured, so. A wee mark on this edge here where the glue's kind of got into the texture, kind of dried. But on the whole, it seems to be coming up now. On the whole, I'm quite happy with using this gel medium for this type of work. Moving forward, we've got another piece of wood deck to go on. And then we'll just go straight onto the top of it with one of the capstans. Now, annoyingly, there's rollers here, but they weren't supplied with the Pontos. And I believe they're optional, so I think they've discontinued them. So I do have some ideas on replacing these, but let's start on the track. Okay, so we'll now install the chain guides and stoppers. My hand's in the way, but we've got a box at the front here and a hatch. So we have these chain holders to install next. And as you can see again, there's a big peg, but no corresponding hole on the deck. So I'm actually going to drill these ones out. So I measured the peg and it's 1.5, but I'm going to drill a 1.6 hole because they're properly located. So. This deck's so thick, maybe a bit off center, so I might have to open it up. Yeah, that one's definitely off. Okay, what I might do is, because I've messed up that hole big time, I'll just go up to a 2mm drill because there's still plenty of meat around about. Okay, we'll keep moving on. Got a similar deal here where there's a peg and I haven't cut it out. I cut it off or drill this out. So, down the size, this is 1.2. Okay, so we've got these kit parts now. These are for the chains to go down into the chain locker. So this one here points forward because the chain will come up straight through, held here and then straight in. The other two point back because they wrap around the capstan before entering the guide. overdoing the glue today for some reason. I'm normally quite stingy with the glue, but for some reason I seem to think I need a lot more than I do. Its superstructure's in the way as well, it's a pain in them. So the last thing here is just a few arches and boxes, so we'll do that. Okay, so I was going to show just how much the deck's out of position from the mooring chalk area, and I thought I was going to have to trim this, which I will have to do, but then put it over there. But there's enough material on here to actually cover it, so I wouldn't need to do that. Okay, so I won't bother going through that again. So I almost forgot about doing the resin mooring chocks. Now having a look at the Pontos Ponds and the actual handrails, I've determined that it comes in from centre to centre about 20mm from the centre of the port chalk. So therefore, if you mark that aside, that should be about right. So just be mindful, the chalks to have a flat back edge and a curved front edge, and they do overhang the deck edge. I'll just use crystal clear because in the event it has a clash with a handrail, it should be easy to peel off. So that is the foredeck complete now. I've decided to leave off the jackstaff for the time being, purely because I think it's going to be really vulnerable. And I want to see the relationship with the handrail, because the plans do show these supports button up against that chocks, which would be good because it would give a nice secure fitting. Being on the outside, I don't know how they're going to affect the handrail. Okay, so that's, hopefully you can see that's how it's going to sit. And it's actually going to look pretty good, I think. But like I say, it's a bit vulnerable at the moment, so I'll leave it off. And these are still flexible enough because they're just crystal clear to the top, so we can still move them about without dropping them out. So we'll turn our attention to the stern now. But before we do, I actually forgot about this vent pipe. And it's actually a kit part. It's actually very well molded. So that just sits in here. And now we're finished with it. Okay, so let's knock over the stern now. So again, got another piece of wood deck to go down. Try and keep it away from the holes this time. And we want to be careful to maintain that hole there. Okay, so much cleaner when you take a bit of care, and no cleanup required for that. So now we've got these skylights to go in. And we'll do that now. And that's why we wanted to make sure that hole is clear. Capstan. Make sure it's centered. Just be mindful of the handles. Go alternate sides. A gap in the middle. We'll populate all these now in rapid fashion because there's nothing special about them. But there's a few points we'll come back to. I left a peg and made another hole for this one. Same here, I left the pegs. We've got two tiny plates here. So the last thing to do is we've got two of these hatches, which are kit parts. For whatever reason, Pontos has decided not to tell us where to put them. They're shown on the plans, but there's no markings on the deck. And the plans don't actually match. So if I was to take a guess, this first one is in line with that center line and in line with that one. This one here would be in line. The plans show this being further back. So what I'll do is I think I'll make this in line with the center, this one in line with that. I'll take that distance and make it the same here, just to give a bit of separation. No, actually, the center of this is on the edge of that one there. I'll make that. I'll make it 20. Now the very last part is this hand wheel and a pedestal. And this is actually supplied by Pontos yet. There's nothing on the deck to say where it goes. It's in this area, but I'll have a look at the plans and just pick a point. So the plans show it in line with this one here and in here, in between these two. So I'm not messing about. I'm just going to put it out. I measured the base of the pedestal and it's 1.7. Right, we are finished now. Same deal with the stern. I'm not going to install the Ensign staff because that's even bigger and further out. So there's a few little bits and pieces of brass I need to touch up just with handling. You can see one's caught my eye there. That little plate, you can't see it from that side, but that needs done as well. Okay, so this took longer than I was expecting, but it makes a big difference to the ship. I'll throw up some photos now of the finished works we've just done.